my beautiful people. So today I want to go over, does the Idaho State really have anything on Bryan Kohberge? And if they do, then why aren't they sharing it even with the defense team? Okay, so I want to go over this because if an innocent man is getting charged with those four murders, that's completely awful. Two, B, his life's already ruined. He's already a suspect in this. I mean, how is he ever going to get a job again? Even if he's not convicted. Seriously. Okay. So, just to recap, guys, this is the Idaho State murder case. This is where those four individuals were brutally murdered. And I'm going to go through what the police have that they're giving us, that they're giving actually him, even his own prosecution doesn't have hardly any information on this of what they have besides what the public knows. So you know what, the authorities are convinced that they do have the right guy, but the evidence they have against him, will it add up? I don't know. So they're saying the thing is if these authorities are correct, it would have taken Bryan Kohberge 8 minutes to murder 4 victims, get in his car, and drive away. That leaves very little wiggle room to even go about this case. They say they saw the getaway car, which was a white Suburban, and there were several sightings of the suspect's vehicle on Kings Road. So that occurred on 3:29 a.m. And at 4:04 a.m., the suspect's car can be seen entering on the 4th time it has been seen driving out eastbound on Queen Road, stopping and actually turning around in front of 500 Queens Road, apartment number 52. And then at 4:06 a.m., you can see that the vehicle is driving back westbound on Queen Road, where the suspect's vehicle is in front of Kings Road residence. It appears to unsuccessfully attempt to either park or turn around, so it did turn around, but either it was trying to park or it was just turning around. And then it continues on the intersection of Queens Road and Kings Road, where it can be seen completing the 3-point turn and then driving eastbound down Queen Road. At this point, it's between 4:08 to 4:10. We're thinking it's more like 4:09-ish. There's no more sightings of the suspect vehicle until 4:20. And it is seen exiting the area at high speeds. There is no record from the state and if and when this vehicle was parked at the time. So we're assuming that the vehicle was actually parked in the back parking area from probably 4:09 to 4:19, which is the assumed time frame. So 10 minutes, right? So the state is implying that the suspect vehicle belongs to Bryan Kohberge and that Bryan Kohberge acted alone. So this narrows the window of opportunity very, very low. When the car was parked and approximately, it would have given him 8 minutes to brutally murder 4 healthy individuals. That would give you a minute to murder each one, and then a minute to start the car, and then you have to make it down 112 Kings Road to be caught exiting the neighborhood at 4:20. I don't know. That's a big stretch. Especially when you can see in the surveillance video that it is a sedan. It is black and white. So we're assuming that this car is white. Technically, it could have been a lighter color. On any of these videos that I've looked at, I have not been able to determine what kind of vehicle it is besides it's just a sedan. Okay, maybe the police have another video or something that we aren't being shown and the defense isn't being shown that could explain it. And if so, then they might have a case. But from what I'm gathering, what they have shown us, it's going to be really hard to convince me that, you know what, yeah, they do have a case. So police believe that the killing happened between 4 o'clock and 4:20 a.m. So could Bryan been driving? If he did, could he have murdered and started his car in 8 minutes and then go down that street to be visible by 4:20? Or could this have been a patrolling car that was as a lookout for the murder to happen? I mean, that would explain a theory of the killer actually approaching on foot. So the police do have the white vehicle being around the area of the time of the murders. That's all that's on the surveillance. They said that they were looking for 2011, 2003 Hyundai Elantra. I do want to note here, though, that Bryan Kohberge does drive an Elantra, but it's a 2015. Now, I wanted to pull up and see what are the differences between the 2013, 2015 Elantra. Let's see. I just thought of that. I'm like, you know what? That'd be actually good to know here. Okay. Anyway, I'll go back to that a little bit later. Once I pull up this information up and see how much of a difference there really is. Could you mistakenly mistaked a 2013 for 2015? In theory, probably, but it depends. Depends on what they were looking for, you know? Okay, so the police also put in there that they had a list of 22,000 white Elantras that were registered in the system. They also state that they're still looking for a murder weapon pieces. The only piece of information that they are claiming they have found was the Elantra. Now, I know that there was that knife sheath that was found, and I'll get to that. So, Kohberge's attorney has actually filed in court to see any of these findings that are against their client because the police have not revealed them to them. I understand not revealing them to the public, but why would you hide any of the information? Come on. So his attorney actually accused the state of trying to hide this entire case and said that it is unclear what the police first relied on focusing this investigation with Bryan or the Elantra or any of the DNA. So, for example, how the car was first identified is a totally mystery to the defense. And with the DNA, they are both demanding answers in this case, his lawyer and him are, because they want to know exactly how the police were able to identify that specific white Hyundai Elantra based off of these blurry images of a white sedan. They are also claiming that they have an analyst who is working heavily, relying on video of a car heading the wrong direction at the same time. So there's another vehicle that they were like, oh, we were working on this one, and it's heading in the wrong direction at the same time as supposedly Bryan's car was. So there's two different cars in the same timeline that they're working on pinpointing. His lawyer writes there's no explanation of the total lack of DNA evidence from the victims, from Bryan's apartment, home, office, vehicle. None of the victims' DNA is there. Like, none. On November 29, 2022, so a WSU police officer actually inquired that a white Elantra was registered at WSU. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania license plates registered to Bryan Kohberge. So that remains this question. If they had his name by November 29th, why isn't he brought in for questioning about his whereabouts that night of the murders? They could have even asked him for a DNA sample just to totally clear him up. And then they could have compared it to what was apparently found on the knife sheath right then and there. But instead, they covertly followed him across the country. The FBI may or may not have been surveilling his parents' home. That's a theory. Not sure. But why are they doing this backward-ass DNA process? This doesn't make sense. Now, usually not want to show their work and how they collected the trash from the family's home in December 27, 2022 that ran back to Idaho and perhaps even planted his DNA on the knife sheath so that they could close this case. So, I mean, let's be honest here. It doesn't matter if they don't have any blood evidence from the victims. It doesn't matter if there's no connection between Bryan and these victims. And maybe it doesn't even matter that wasn't a white Elantra that they saw. We've got to go DNA at the scene. And that is not excusable. So there's no evidence of a stalker. There's no evidence of social media contact between these two, the suspect and the victim. These are all narratives that have been told by figures who are competent and compliant with this perhaps cover-up. And before you're hey, Adrian, this is a conspiracy. No, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy to cover up a crime and frame an individual in order to protect an organization, maybe crime that's happening in Moscow, Idaho, with the police forces is likely involved, but maybe they're not involved. Maybe they're just protecting it. Why, though? Why? Why else would they go through so much lengths? I mean, I know, you know what? The whole entire country wants answers for this. But if Bryan is innocent, framing him for doing that is not the way to go about this and to get justice. I mean, if you're willing to convict Kohberge, which is sentencing him to death, you must be able to willingly concede that there's that 8-minute window that he would have to kill these victims, get in his car, and drive away. You must also concede that there's lack of DNA evidence, a lack of a motive, there's very shady investigation going on, inconsistent vehicle identifications, a prosecution that does not want to hand over their hoard evidence, and no connections whatsoever to the victim. Now, I'm not saying that maybe the police have something to do with this and they're not sharing. Maybe they do. Maybe they have something that we don't know about and they're not sharing it with the public. But not sharing it with the defense, that's wrong. They need to know what they're up against, especially when you're dealing with a murder case that could deal with this poor man's life. When you're going to convict someone of a horrible crime, you need to make sure you have the right guy. I think everyone can agree with that. So, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this. Let me know if you agree with this or you don't. Let me know in the comments. I know I got a little bit heated on this, and yeah. One thing too, I want to note here, guys, that and if you are someone like me who's definitely paranoid and worried about the people that are in your life, well, that's where Truth Finder can come in, and they actually help if you have a question about like someone's background and you want to know, hey, if they're still married, if you want to know, what they're like, you want to know who your friends' parents are so that you can keep a close eye on them, Truthfinder is the way to do that. You can easily check up on people. It uses public knowledge to check and see what their backgrounds are like. And that way you guys can just keep safe as well. So feel free to check out Truthfinder. I will link it in the description below as well.